What up, Internet? So, I've been thinking about my Conquering Internet Addiction series for a while. And for a long time, I really didn't feel like I had much to add because I felt like I wasn't really making progress. But sometimes progress is not necessarily what you think it will be. And, years could pass. And part of you's like, oh, I haven't made any progress. But then part of you's like, wait a minute. My mind's shifted, my paradigm has shifted a little bit, and I have made subtle changes over the weeks and months and years. I think sometimes you go to make a change and it doesn't work the way you did, or you take two steps forward and one step back, or even two steps forward and three steps back. And yeah, you're very discouraged or embarrassed even. But I think it's important to keep track of your progress, not just your goals, because if you just constantly have new goals or are chasing the same goals that haven't necessarily been working, you might not notice, like I said, the progress you've been making. So my whole breaking addiction paradigm, I think maybe is wrong. There's a quote by Buckminster Fuller. He's this famous architect who invented the geodesic dome back in, I don't remember, 70s or 80s. I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't know the guy, but I remember reading about him. And his quote is something like, you don't defeat something or overcome something by fighting against it. You defeat it. I'm totally butchering this. I'll look it up after and put it in the description or in the comments. You defeat it by making it obsolete. Yeah. So if you're fighting and you're fighting and you're fighting something, but you don't have an alternative, it's going to be really hard. But if you have an alternative, sometimes it can just be easy or much easier. It's kind of like if you're lonely and the online world is your main source of social, emotional, intellectual stimulation, then it's going to be very hard to stop that, to just turn off your phone, turn off your computer, and just and a lot of people and influencers and self-help people, especially in the male space, I think, are just go into monk mode. Just sit with your loneliness, just sit with your feelings, just sit with your isolation, just deal with it, just handle it. And I mean, there's something to that, but on the other hand, how realistic is that really every day? I mean, the reason the internet and internet culture is so insidious is not just because it's addictive and it's fun and it's easy and you can just sit in your chair, and just get something. It's the fact that it's actively degrading like the proper culture for every person that's online. Like I'm online talking to a screen right now. I'm not out there like talking to, you know, the guy at the gym or whoever. I'm not interacting in culture because I'm doing this. So it's like double whammy, a double um, attack on like external culture. And whatever, this is still brand new in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I didn't grow up with this. The internet. I got on the internet in like '95. Then I got sent away to school where we couldn't even have computers, and so I was like offline. And then I got back on in like '97 when I got out of there. But still, it wasn't really part of the popular culture so much until I would say, 99, 2000. I mean, it depends on your community and your group and your country. But anyway, my point is it's a tool, and it's a tool we're still kind of wrapping our heads around how best to use. And the internet now is very different than the internet back in like 99, 2000 when it was brand new and it hadn't been captured yet by Google and Facebook and Instagram. Well, Facebook, Instagram, same thing now. Um, yeah, there was like all these eclectic little websites, and yeah, I mean there was still Yahoo and some big players, but it was kind of like a new land that people were populating, and now it's like a country that's like all the real estate's been bought up and everyone's kind of been clustered into these cities where they can just get taxed and exploited and get their data stolen and get their eyeballs like captured and sucked in. And yeah, I think it helps. It helps to think about it this way. But I'm gonna call this video "Create Your Own Norms" because one thing I learned when I got sent away to boarding school, I got sent away to a really crazy place. And if you haven't seen it, there's a really good show on Netflix called Wayward, and it really like hit me hard because yeah, it's about these two friends in school, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but one of them gets sent off to this crazy reform school based on these crazy psychological principles of attack therapy and shaming the kids and turning them against each other, and a hierarchy within the school, and the whole town is basically a cult. um, that's the premise. I'm not spoiling too much, but I definitely suggest to watch it. But one thing I realized at that school, when you first get there, you're like, whoa, this place is crazy. What the hell is going on? Maybe all these rules, and, they're dominating me in so many different ways, but all the other kids seem to accept it. So I guess I have to accept it too. Um, and it's amazing how quickly you can acclimate to a situation like that. But in the back of my head, when I was at that place, I was always like, remember, Tony, this is not normal. This is not normal. This is not normal. And now, at 46 years old, as a citizen of like normal society, I think I've learned to tell myself that about the world at large and culture at large as well. Like what we think of as normal, the way people act, the way people think, the way people talk, is just a cultural norm. You know, 300 years ago, um, yeah, 200 years ago, slavery was legal. I don't remember when it became illegal in the UK, but in the US, pretty sure Abraham Lincoln, I think 1850s, 1840s, I don't know. But yeah, for a large part of human history, slavery was legal and accepted and normal. Um, yeah, that's an extreme example, but um, you know, in Nazi Germany, like genocide was normal. And yeah, depending on where you are in history, what culture you're in, like there's just a lot you just take for granted. Like now we just take cell phones for granted. We take that people can't really do anything without like 12 texts for granted. Um, we take for granted that like our brain is filled with like corporate logos and symbols and jingles and fictional characters rather than the names of our neighbors and the native plants in our communities. Yeah, but yeah, normal is relative. So when I say create your own norms, I mean think about the things that you take for granted about the way people treat you and the way you communicate and how accessible you are to people, how much you use your phone, how much you use the internet, your whole routines and your thought processes, and just start thinking about them. You don't need to take any drastic action yet. Um, but just consider like what you want and consider your ideal life. I think a lot of people, well, I know I can speak for myself. A lot of times I think about my ideals and then I think about my life and I get really depressed because my ideals seem so kind of fantastical and far away and not accessible, but you just have to do what you can do in the life you're in now. Um, yeah, I hesitate to say create your own reality because that's it's kind of been co-opted by a lot of woo people to the extent that I'm just like, I want a luxury car, I want, like the super hot like wife or husband, or, a 1 million pound job, and that's just not how like anything works at all. But it's good to think about what you want. It's good to think about your goals and to think about how you can latch onto something right now in your present life and your present moment. Um, and be gentle with yourself. That's the second thing that I want to say is be patient and don't be unrealistic about yourself. Like in my eyes, it's unrealistic if you're like online all the time, like it's unrealistic to be like, oh, I'm never going to go online. Like I don't go on Facebook. I did join this one group from this guy I met on chess.com, and he's got this philosophical group. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've got to the point where Facebook has no pull for me. I'm just like, this is boring and inflammatory and trying to waste my time, and I'm just not into it. But if there's a group that I know is not going to have ads and I can check in now and then, these people are local or semi local, it's like based in a city like a couple hours from me. But these are people I might meet at some point. So I'm willing to check in with that now and then. And I accept that. And I accept that I'm going to check my email. I'm a little bit addicted to YouTube because, I mean, if you're watching this, you probably are as well. Because, I mean, I'm really impressed with the quality of so many people making so many video essays with so much research. I mean, me, I'm just like talking to a camera. I'm not getting stats and figures and throwing cool flashy graphics with music and epic B-roll, and like I don't do any of that. I just talk, and there's people just who put in so much more time and effort and energy, and plus all the analytics and all the work behind the scenes to like pump their video to the top and work the algorithm. I mean, it's super impressive, and I learn a lot from these people. If I stopped watching YouTube, would I magically get a whole community and make loads of friends? Probably not. But I am open to that. It's not either or. I think like the whole either or fatalistic, like you're either winning or you're losing, you're either like on your path or you're like a loser, I think is a really bad mentality. So, yeah, there was a few other things I wanted to focus on. Yeah, a couple more notes I got. So there's different ways you can use the exact same tools, the exact same platform. Like I like to play chess, so I'll like throw that as an example out there. So you can like improve by analyzing all the games you play, or watching instructional videos or whatever, or you can just play like Blitz and Bullet. For non-chess players, Bullet is like where you have like a minute for the whole game and you're just like click click click. It's really like mind numbing, and you're definitely not learning anything playing like that. I mean, I did this on and off for like 15 years, and if I would have spent that 15 years differently, I would be much stronger today. And whatever your interest is, you can, if you're interested in music or art or learning, you can absorb passively, or you can be active. And actually, I'm not here to demonize passivity. I think passivity can be useful in degrees, right? There's times you just want to sit back and relax and be entertained, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then there's times where you're going to want to be active, and as long as you don't find yourself falling too much into passivity, or even too much into activity, too much into just you're talking, or you're like arguing on the internet, or you're playing Bullet, or you're bullet chess, or you're getting sucked into something that's not really feeding you. And the same thing with education. Like growing up in the 80s and 90s, like there was just TV, I mean, I had a computer, but it wasn't connected to the internet. So I'd like play computer games and watch TV. And, fortunately I read a lot as well. But I mean, YouTube is so much better than TV. Like you can literally get into whatever rabbit hole you want, but it's also more addictive. And I think it's important to be careful when you're watching content, like especially educational content, like pause now and then and like take a moment to sit with what you're absorbing and be like, do I fully agree with this? Do I disagree? What if this man or woman who's talking to me was here now? What would I say to them? What would I ask them? What do I think about this? How does this resonate with my personal experience? Because it's easy to kind of just listen to something and let it become almost AMSR. Just kind of like a soothing voice, so you're not alone. Kind of like with reading, you could read like 5 pages while you're spacing out, and then you're like, wait a minute, what did I just read? So I think it's important to kind of train yourself to be present, even if you can't necessarily break away from some of the extreme habits you might have, to try to be present with it as much as possible, and yeah, not beat yourself up about the behavior so much as subtly alter the behavior, and tune into what you're doing. And yeah, just like with music, like on the internet you can find pretty much whatever song you want, and it's so cool because you can discover new stuff, but it's also, there's an impoverishedness to it, like, and a sadness to it that I get, because when I was a kid, like, I mean, obviously there was radio, so I'd listen to the radio, but the main way I discovered music was my friends would tell me about it. Like, um, my friend Alex's sister made me this cassette tape of Red Hot Chili Peppers, because first she gave me like a mixtape with like 12 different bands, and then I was like, oh, I really like this Give It Away song, and she's like, okay, cool, I'll make you a tape of just that. So she gave me Blood Sugar Sex Magic plus a couple of songs tacked onto the ends from like different albums, and it was cool. I mean, I listened to that tape over and over, and I went to my friend Keith's birthday party, and everyone got a present of, what was it, Fresh Prince, some Fresh Prince Will Smith album. For this was like 1991 or 92, I think it was 91, and I listened to that over and over again, and I was really tuning in. I remember, like, yeah, I'm sure the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album, affected my brain and my thoughts about, human relationships and brotherhood and sexuality and all this stuff. Um, because, well, of course I was younger, but I was also tuning in on a level that, like, I'm not tuning in now. Part of it is just because of age, and I just have a lot more bouncing around in my head. But part of it is the focus, and the focus I think you can retrain at any age. But just be chill, be cool with yourself. And remember, you can create the norms in your own life. You can't control necessarily your family members' norms, or your workplace's norms, or your school's norms, or like the wider culture's norms. But remember, everything is shifting all the time, and other people don't necessarily want to be doing and thinking what they're doing and thinking. They're just used to it, and because that's what's normal right now, and things are changing all the time. So just, yeah, be your own person, and create your own norms for your life. And yeah, if you have any questions as to what the hell I'm talking about, you can comment, or criticism, or appreciation, any of that stuff. Thanks for watching.